News Talk 1340 KROC-AM. Good morning. I'm Andy Brownell with Tom Ostrom on a beautiful Friday morning in late October. Rochester Today, 282-1234 is our number. And Tom, mailbag time, I suppose?
Mailbag time. George sent a cartoon. He knows I like cartoons, one of our contacts here. And a cartoon, President Obama saying, Iraq was a dumb war. And then he says, so I pulled out all the troops and bombed Libya.
The art of the political cartoon has kind of gone by the wayside, hasn't it, a little bit?
Well, there's a lot of conservative political cartoonists, a couple dozen of them, and I get them online, and my conservative friends get them online, and when I miss them, they send them. But the local media doesn't feature conservative cartoonists, but there are a lot of them.
I think it's just part of the whole demise of the newspaper business as well. It used to be that it was part of the daily routine would be to open up the editorial page and look at whatever the featured cartoon was, and that's just kind of a piece of Americana that's gone by the wayside a little bit. It's still out there, but you have to look for it, like you said.
Right, they have to look for it. And then Critica sent this. I've seen it or versions of this before, but again, political correctness in the sports world, and evidently somebody wrote a liberal columnist who was complaining about the name of the Washington Redskins, and he. This person wrote Clarence Page, and he said this, I agree with you, these names are offensive. We shouldn't name after Native Americans, even though that extols them as fine warriors. But let's ditch Kansas City Chiefs, Atlanta Braves, Cleveland Indians. Gosh, the Cleveland Browns, I wonder what that means. That must be racist. Carolina Panthers, militant blacks of the 60s. That's offensive to us folks. New York Yankees, that offends the southern population. And the Catholic religion is demeaned. We got the New Orleans Saints, the Los Angeles Angels, the San Diego Padres. And how about criminals who raped and pillaged? We can't influence our children with Oakland Raiders, Minnesota Vikings, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Pittsburgh Pirates, and the San Diego Chargers, irresponsible fighting and thuggery, and the Giants, New York and San Francisco. That offends midgets. And Cincinnati Reds, is that barbiturates? Wrong message to the children, and so is Milwaukee Brewers drinking. Yeah, these names have to go.
All right. We'll let it go.
Go ahead.
No, I don't have anything to say. I don't. I just think the whole debate is silly, and I'm tired of it, and the fact that the Minneapolis City Council had to actually spend time this week discussing whether or not they should be suing over the NFL team, the Washington Redskins, because they're going to be playing at TCF Bank Stadium, which is on the University of Minnesota campus. And they had to get together and have a meeting and have an attorney tell them that, by the way, you don't have any jurisdiction there. It's a state property. It's not City of Minneapolis property, so you can't do a dang thing anyway. Goodness gracious. If you want to carry signs out in front of the game and protest, I have no issue with that. Go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
But never mind.
There's another one, the name of a team, and I don't dare say it on the air. I'll tell you during the break.
It is part of, and I do think, I think the term Redskins is probably going to be found offensive by some people. I think it is tied to a derogatory term, and ultimately down the road, you know what? I think the handwriting's on the wall. But when you have the knee-jerk reaction to every single one of these monikers, that there has to automatically be some sort of racist comment, and that somebody's going to be offended by it. I think your satire was pretty well said. Yeah,
well, that's Critica spotting the humor for us.
All right, and obviously we touched a nerve, so we got a couple calls here. Good morning, you're on KROC. Hello, good morning.
Hello, yes.
Yeah, good morning.
You can offend two groups, not only one, but two groups at the same time, with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Oh, yes.
It's point well taken.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call. Good morning, you're on KROC.
Hello.
Hi.
I just tuned in. Here's something about the Redskins.
Yeah.
And it's derogatory. Redskins goes way, way back, and the original meaning of the Redskins was to designate the American Indian as a redskin. Otherwise, if you just said Indian, it meant
Sure.
they were from India.
Sure.
And if you go back in the 1800s, in the Sherlock Holmes books, he gives reference to the Redskins, meaning the American Indian. And if you look up in the dictionary, so there's really nothing derogatory about it.
It became, but
not attending.
You're right, but it became
Yeah.
used as a slur later on.
And then red men were, that's a general term, and even the Indians have used it, red men. And the word whites refers to skin color, too. So, well, anyway, thank you.
All right, bye now.
Yeah, thanks. We're going to do one more call. We have to take a break. Good morning. You're on KROC.
Hi, I got one for you.
Okay.
And I don't know, but the Minnesota Vikings, the reason the Vikings are jinxed so bad is because if you look back what the Vikings did, back in the days, they pillaged churches and killed all these religious people, and I don't know, I just think that's why the Vikings
So we're cursed.
They're cursed because the Vikings, that's why you got to believe in God.
Throw in the towel.
Okay.
Throw it out there. Thanks.
Thanks for your call.
Thank you. Gosh, there's a lot of thinking going on there.
15 after 10 at KROC-AM. Roscoe's Root Beer and Ribs. It's Customer Appreciation Days at the 4th Street location. The Root Beer stand, 25% off everything on the menu until the 4th Street location closes for the season. And the beautiful weather we have right now, it may be deceiving, but that closing is coming inevitably. But until it does, get down there and enjoy all your Roscoe favorites, 25% off.
Real barbecue, the best burgers around, and you can call and get your order ready for you. You arrive and pick it up, and there's covered and heated seating at Roscoe's on 4th. The menu is, as you say, 25% off. You get the wonderful ribs, the fish fry, the burgers, everything else. Great food. Stop by till closing. A wonderful deal. It's always fun there. Great menu. Roscoe's location on 4th Street Southeast.
Did you mention you can call ahead and have your order ready if you want to? And they have the covered and heated seating area as well when things start to get chilly. Okay, then we're covered. Roscoe's Root Beer and Ribs, the 4th Street location, till it closes. Customer Appreciation Days, 25% off. Don't forget the North location as well. They're up by Shopco North, open all year round. Your official Weather Eye forecast brought to you by Mystic Lake Casino. Enjoy free beer with dinner at the buffet on Mystic Lake every Friday night in October. The buffet is serving up German Oktoberfest specials all month long. Hours and prices at mysticlake.com. Beautiful day today. We're expecting a high in the mid-60s. Overnight low, mid to upper 40s. Then tomorrow, sunshine and a high in the low 60s. Saturday night's low 38. We get to Sunday back into the low 60s with some sunshine. Chance of scattered storms on Monday with a high in the mid to upper 60s. Tuesday, still a chance of rain with a high in the low to mid 50s. And then low 50s on Wednesday. We should have a return of some sunshine by Wednesday. Right now, 56 downtown Rochester at KROC-AM. 20 minutes past 10 o'clock. I'm Andy Brownell with Tom Ostrom. 282-1234 is our number. Tom, what do you want to go to next?
Well, I've been attending the Wednesday and Thursday sessions at the Rochester Public Library, sponsored by the library provide the facilities, and you had the League of Women Voters and Rochester Area Chamber of Commerce and the Post Bulletin, and the moderators did a fine job, and the candidates. It made me think, my gosh, the candidates, whether incumbents or challengers, just to go through this fussing and preparation and exposure and the pressure of public debates and big crowds, and doggone it, that anybody goes through this. And I thought that the quality of the presentations and the proceedings were very good. I learned a lot. You had state representative from District 26A, Democrat DFLer Tina Liebling, and then she's challenged by Brianna Bly. Brianna Bly brought her school board competency and experience to the issues, and Tina Liebling gave the progressive liberal interpretation of our taxation and our spending, and no bipartisanship. She said there's no partisanship now. No, the DFL's in charge, Brianna said. But they had very different views. Brianna Bly had a more conservative view of spending and priorities and issues, and Tina Liebling the traditional progressive Democrat view, and you learn a lot, and And folks should cover these, be informed by these candidates, and listen to KROC News and read the media and listen, because these are important issues that they disagree vehemently about, and that's the direction of the state.
Oh, there's a very stark philosophical difference between those two candidates, particularly.
And they're both competent. It was a good challenge debate. The challengers have to go against experienced incumbents who have processes and experience too. And they all did well. They stood up there with self-confidence and eloquence, and including Nels Pearson, State Representative District 26B Republican candidate, and he was challenging Rich Wright, a DFL candidate. And Rich Wright, an articulate attorney who had the progressive view and yet some very pragmatic, middle-of-the-road observations. And Nels Pearson gives his small-town farming and sales experience about the things he thinks the state should do, and the priorities and the spending. And they talked about property taxes and its impact, and Social Security and its impact. And then you had the Olmsted County Commissioner race, the incumbent Matt Flynn, who's the Olmsted County president, or what do you call it, the chairman of
the board at this point,
county commissioner, and he's being challenged by farmer in the region, Ken Montz. And you had experience and articulation from Matt, who's been at every level practically of county government, and you had Ken, a farmer, who's challenging some of the regulations that he thinks were counterproductive. And the Rochester School Board race, Gene Marvin, a former Rochester teacher, an English teacher, an articulate, progressive to the point of being, I think, ideological and kind of pie-in-the-sky progressive. Everybody should be taught equally, and everybody's important, and outcomes should be the same, and we have to meet the needs of minorities, and kind of pie-in-the-sky objectives that educators are so good at describing, but dedicated, conscientious. She means what she's saying, how she can meet the needs of all children. They're all important, but we got racism to deal with. Terry Tronson, a pragmatic businessman who I think is so refreshingly honest about education and its issues, and he gets tired of the name game of racial labeling. He said the students get along fine. It's the parents with these labels and these causes that interrupt. And Terry, a businessman, so he's concerned with budgets, and he's had contact with maintenance people and knows people and economies and efficiency in use of money and spending. And Terry doesn't like pre-kindergarten. He said students are in school enough. Let the parents have some responsibility. You can't blame everything on the teachers and the schools. And of course, Gene Marvin thinks pre-kindergarten education is important too. But that was interesting, and they had views. I often think lay people make more sense about education than educators do, and that's my bias there. But Gene Marvin, extraordinarily eloquent and competent and conscientious, dedicated, no question about it. And Terry Tronson brings a needed outside real-world perspective to education, so I enjoyed those debates. Rochester School Board seat 6, Don Barlow. He's an African-American pastor, former firefighter, had lived in Alaska. And Ann Becker, the incumbent, she's president of the school board. So Ann, from her experience, talking about what has been accomplished and what the challenges are and what the budgets are, and a pragmatic VOTEC kind of necessity, which she agreed with Terry Tronson on, has to be part of it. Not everybody should go to college, and they got to have jobs, and the people in those VOTEC areas get jobs. Can't say that about all the liberal arts folks. So Ann Becker, with her experience and dedication and her eloquence, and Don Barlow, the pastor, he's very articulate too. He's concerned about the gap between minority students, but he thinks parents have responsibilities too, and the answers are many and the solutions are difficult. But they were very interesting, and civility, of course. But the way the league sets up the proceedings, civility is enhanced. You don't applaud during these presentations; you applaud after. Olmsted County Sheriff, incumbent Dave Mueller, with challenger Captain Kevin Torgerson. Kevin Torgerson emphasized his more than 30 years in law enforcement from the Twin Cities area to down here.
And he's been here for quite a long time as well.
He's been here for a long time, and he challenged Mueller, who had taken time out to be a personnel director, and he's missed some training and some experience, and antagonized union members who have challenged him. And he says, I had to be tough. I wanted standards, and I made enemies doing it, and I'll try to reconnect when I'm reelected. And I did what I had to do, and it was resented. And my personnel experience makes me a good administrator. And Kevin Torgerson mentions on-the-job experience that he's had consistently makes him a better administrator and online communicator, and in-person communicator with the troops. And they both said how difficult being a jailer is. That's a very tough, challenging job and dangerous job, and there are morale problems there trying to administer to some very serious convicts that are confined and don't like it. So that's my take on it, and I hope that some callers who have opinions and who are there want to call in.
That was a heck of a report, Thomas. Thank you very much. You took some pretty good notes to be able to give that kind of detail on each one of the races. I'll put in a plug that when you were gone on assignment last Friday, interviews with both of the sheriff's candidates were aired, Kevin Torgerson and Dave Mueller, and you can go on our website, KROC-AM.com. And if you want to listen to those interviews, the whole interviews, you certainly can. They're pretty easy to find under just search either one of their names, or even just search Olmsted County Sheriff. You'll come up with it. And then I also have video clips of the same interviews that we're adding a few every day, and you can view those at KROC-AM.com as well. Or you can go to Facebook and get them there as well.
Well, you're a great interviewer, and I know that. And I must say the candidates were impressive and competent, and the supporters of any of them, I think, could walk away proud.
All right, 282-1234. We have to take a news break in a few minutes, but we'll take a call as well. Good morning. You're on KROC.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I've been following the Mueller and Torgerson. Torgerson, he's running against Mueller for sheriff on that one. I recognize him as being very relaxed on TV. Basically, he was very, what I want to say, he was very confident, let's put it that way, where I could see that Mueller seemed to be very upset about being there. And I kind of got that feeling throughout that part, but I don't know if you did on that one. But
well, on the air, I didn't get that at all. Both gentlemen came across as a very, very professional.
Well, they were professional, but it just his mannerisms just didn't seem quite to be what he was. He didn't want to be there. Let's put it that way. But I kind of got that feeling.
Well,
but
that's
on the other hand too is you mentioned the jailers too is. I didn't realize that we had spent like $3 million for some type of lawsuit. I didn't quite get what that was all about, but would like to have heard a lot more about that.
Well, there were several high cost settlements that were made in regards. One was a death in the jail. Another one was, well, I guess that one was also there was a man who was, I believe, a paraplegic who was in the jail. And he took the county to court over the care that he received while he was in jail. And, there were some big payouts.
There were some
big payouts that were covered. I think they were covered by the county's insurance.
There were some assaults on jailers, too. That's a dangerous job. I appreciate what you said about the pressures of debate and their personality responses. The things I saw made me think both are very cool, detached, and professional, because they're challenging each other's motives and histories. And they stayed cool. That must be very difficult in public and to work with each other, whatever the results are.
It's a tough one. I've known both these guys for years and years and years.
Right, and that's one thing. I voted for Mueller the first time around, and I thought he was a little bit more open than before, and this time he's kind of a little bit more closed off. But it was just one of the things I noticed on that one, and the other part is I've mentioned some of the progressiveness where the Democratic Party has, they look forward to like the school board with Tronson and stuff like that. For every dollar that you save over $4 pre-K and kindergarten, because everybody starts out at the same level.
But I've heard this statistic thrown about, and I had the guy who used to be with the Federal Reserve, Rolnick, I think his name is, on it. I've heard this statistic, and I've done research on this, and I've searched, and I've never been able to find anything that actually supports long-term. Short-term, yes, up through the second grade, but past the second grade, I do not see any support for that statistic.
And that's a guess. That's speculative.
I'm saying pre-K as well.
I'm talking about pre-K too, because
but where I'm getting at is that the pre-K and kindergarten, half-day pre-K, they keep on saying if the parents don't speak English, how can they start out at the same level as a kindergartner or all dayer? Where I hate to say this is, I know a lot of parents that do not do anything with their kids, but other than put them in front of the box, and basically let the TV set watch them.
And what the heck is that about?
Right.
No, it's not right.
And that's where I said it. Okay. If pre-K and kindergarten, I think it's probably the best thing I ever could imagine for my grandkids and my great-grandkids at this point.
I got to catch up because I got to do a news break.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your call. Appreciate it.
Yep.
It is already 10:33, and we'd have another call, but we have to take the break. Otherwise, I'm going to get way off schedule. So if you want to hold on, I'll get to you as soon as we can. And before we go into the news break time, I have to mention we have one email regarding our previous conversation about sports names.
Yeah.
A William. I don't have a last name, but we William guys are very offended by Buffalo using our nicknames. So with that, we will take a news break. 57 degrees downtown Rochester at KROC-AM. News Talk 1340 KROC-AM. Good morning. I'm Andy Brownell with Tom Ostrom. 282-1234 is the number. You can call if you'd like to join the conversation as we cover topics of the day. I was going to mention one thing, Tom. I thought it was kind of an interesting play. On Tuesday, we had a call about the Tim Walz, Jim Hagedorn race, and the Republican candidate was in town yesterday, and he went after Walz over something about 5 years ago. The congressman, when all the talk was about closing Guantanamo Bay, at that point, that the president, that was one of his stated goals for 1 year after taking office, and Congressman Walz was asked about, well, what if they end up here at the Rochester Federal Medical Center? And back then he did state and was quoted as saying that under certain circumstances that would be okay with him. And of course that was met with immediate criticism 5 years ago, including Amy Klobuchar, by the way, U.S. Senator from Minnesota. She was highly critical at the time. And Jim Hagedorn brought that out yesterday during the campaign race, which was a fair issue, if you ask me, considering that there is a scuttlebutt taking place right now that could be one of those other issues, including immigration, that this president, during his final 2 years in office, may try to handle without Congress, closing Guantanamo and moving those people around. And he threw that out into the campaign race with 2 weeks left. And I will say this, I was very perplexed and disappointed with the congressman's response to that, because his response was basically, I wore a uniform. You don't know what the heck you're talking about. Shut up. Yeah. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. You didn't say it quite that way or in that tone, but couldn't you address the issue, for crying out loud?
That's right.
You did say this 5 years ago. Say I said that 5 years ago. Perhaps my stance has changed, or say I still agree with it now that we're going to I thought it was a completely inappropriate response.
Right, that Mr. Hagedorn hadn't worn a uniform, so therefore he was incompetent to talk on national security issues. Yeah. Well, for arrogant. Well, Tim Walz comes home and he speaks moderate to conservative views if he does show up at all at any meetings or debates. But when he's in Washington, he's very friendly to former Speaker Pelosi and to the agenda of President Obama. And now Democrats don't know what to do. They're running away from Obama, who's very unpopular and trying to be independent. And that's politics.
282-1234 is the number. Good morning. Thanks for calling in. Hi, good morning.
It's me.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Real concise, because there's so many things that the people in this town don't hear. It's unbelievable. So let me rattle off, and y'all can digest it.
You got to do it quick, though.
Right. Okay. The first thing is that I don't know if y'all heard this, that the president, someone has ordered to make up secretly at least 4 million green cards. So I asked the president apparently plans to have a big outing of a bunch of people and have them able to stay in the country safely who are illegal alien.
It's a little more nuanced than that. They ordered the green paper that would be used to make that, but yes.
They didn't order us to paper their walls.
No, I agree. It's pretty apparent, right?
I'm going quickly because I want to take these all time to digest it. The second thing is the VA is pretty self-apparent. And obviously, he's on the subcommittee at the VA in charge of all this stuff that's going on at the VA. That's been going on for decades. If he's been there and doing his job, why hasn't he even been aware of it? Why is he shocked? That's his committee.
Okay.
Next thing, as far as the security of your health care plan, the way this works is all your personal information, which may not be on the first thing you sign, but does come out when you have interviews with the doctors and nurses, all that, things like diseases that are not very pleasant to hear about, people's affairs, they talk to their doctor, people's private finances that come out and all this.
Oh, yeah.
All that goes to a hub, a federal hub, which is shared with virtually every almost major department, defense, treasury, etc. Anybody has access, and your information is not private. The next thing was...
Okay, one more, and then we got to move on.
Okay. And the next thing I wanted to mention was, this guy named Ellison, up in Minneapolis, welcomes all these illegal aliens. Look, I love children, okay? I would do anything for any child, anytime. I want to know who gave the authorization for now. It was 251, now it's over 400. Who gave the authorization for them to be moved here, the illegal kids, without us knowing about it? The governor has to know. He's never said a word. Ellison hasn't said anything. Now they're all of a sudden here. They're here, and I'm glad they're safe. But, for goodness sake, what are their names? Where are they? Who are they? What diseases have they had? Do they have family? This kind of stuff puts us all at risk.
All right. Thanks for your call.
Well, thank you.
You covered a lot of ground there.
A lot of things to think about and to be concerned about.
All right, Tom.
Well,
I know you got some stuff you want to cover as well.
Relating to, maybe we can get to Ebola and maybe we can get to the Canadian terrorism. If not today, we'll do it Tuesday, but so much to cover. And it's being covered extensively, those two topics, so I'm going to start with a couple of other things. Relating to immigrants in our porous borders, the administration freed illegal immigrants that were charged with violent crimes. So that was kind of secretive, too, and we were lied about from officials. The illegal immigrants charged with violent crimes, serious felonies, were among the hundreds of criminals the Obama administration released from jails across the country in February. This from Freedom of Information Act documents that have been revealed. And according to reports obtained not by a conservative paper but by USA Today, the government released inmates charged with kidnapping and sexual assault and attempted murder and drug trafficking and homicides. And the evidence contradicts the assurances by the administration that the criminals who were released as part of cost-cutting were low-risk offenders. They're not. And Immigration and Customs Enforcement folks, ICE, it's called ICE, admitted to the newspaper that numerous criminals had been released and they were dangerous, but they denied direct responsibility. ICE spokeswoman Gillian Christensen told USA Today discretionary releases made by ICE were of low-level offenders. However, the releases involving individuals with significant criminal histories were dictated by special circumstances outside of this agency's control. And so all of that. And by the way, then ICE Director John Morton told a congressional committee, no, the releases are not dangerous people. He resigned soon after that. And former White House spokesman Jay Carney, who I think now works for CNN, he had described when he was the White House spokesman that the criminals were, quote, low-risk, non-criminal detainees. And Senator McCain and Senator Coburn, Republicans, want a formal investigation. Another investigation. Nothing will happen. No one will be held accountable.
Then why did you bring it? No, I'm just kidding.
Because so many things are going on that a government that people trust less and less and less have fooled us again.
So this is the way I understand this. When they presented it to both Congress and the American people with the announcement, this was all during the... was it the sequester cuts, I believe? I can't remember.
Yes, that was part of it.
That these were people who were charged with drunk driving offenses and petty crimes, and other non-criminals, and we have to release them because we need to cut costs during the sequester time, and that none, and I think the term none was used, were accused of serious offenses, and they were asked point blank by members of Congress to repeat that statement, that none, and that's the key phrase here. And then later on we find out, that there were people who had been accused of, as you pointed out, rape and other heinous crimes. And then my understanding, the special circumstances are that there's a court-imposed clock that if you run into a person that you have held on an immigration-related thing, and I say thing meaning some process, that you have 6 months to get them out the door, or you're going to have to kick them out into the streets. And that if you have no expectation you're going to be able to pull this off within 6 months, then the immigration no longer has the ability to hold it. And some of those people got mixed up in this release that was tied to the sequester. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't excuse the lie to Congress when asked if any of these people were serious criminals, because they were. There were some.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And they could have explained that at that time, but they chose not to and used the word none.
Yeah.
And that what I go back to again, what are we as American people, what are we, just dense that we can't understand that there are mechanisms, and then we should be upset at the mechanism that says that they only have a 6-month window to kick these people out the door if they're accused of serious offenses. Why is that in place?
Mm-hmm.
If you have a dangerous criminal that you've rounded up through an immigration roundup, then there should be a special circumstance that you hold them until you get them out of the country. Then,
mm-hmm. And some of these were even people who were involved in murder or planning homicidal activities and were caught before they did it.
All right, we have a call, Tim. Or Tom. Good morning. Tom. Yeah. How long have I known you?
Well,
a couple decades now.
Live radio has its pressures, George.
Good morning. You're on KROC.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
You're doing great, thanks.
Any Republican in this state that wants a snowball's chance in hell of winning in 2 weeks, the only words out of their mouth should be executive amnesty, executive amnesty, executive amnesty. Look at the sheer volume of people that President Obama is rumored to be legalizing. It's incredible. And I don't see... I haven't heard any ads, and I don't watch television, but I haven't heard any ads on the radio from our Republican candidates really focusing on that issue. And for others in national elections, Scott Brown in New Hampshire, that's what he's made his campaign about, and he's dead even in the polls, if not ahead of a incumbent Democrat in a liberal state.
That's very
because
interesting.
The more people learn about the incompetency or blatant ignoring of the law from President Obama and the effects that it can have on social services, schools, health care, all of it.
Public safety.
The more people learn about it, the more they're like, well, we need to slow down.
It's also, if you look at the polling numbers, it's already very clearly an unpopular move amongst the American people that the president would even be considering this.
And, the trouble is, we were talking in the studio, some of us, about if the Republicans lose this time, they are so inept and absolutely undeserving of office, but they lay back. They are afraid to bring up any issues. They want to be liked. They don't want to be labeled. And they don't bring these things up. And of course, we have Speaker Boehner, and then we got Senate Minority Leader Connell. They are incapable of any inspirational rhetoric or fight back guts. And the Democrats are tough; the Republicans aren't. And all these issues, as you're saying, that they simply do not respond to effectively. They're afraid to, but they shouldn't be.
Okay, but maybe it's not afraid to. Maybe it is the big money part of the campaign. You have candidates who are receiving, or at least support, not money, but support through these so-called PACs that are funded by big business lobby.
And Chamber of Commerce,
we've already seen big business lobby is somewhat supportive of this. So maybe that's why this isn't.
Well, they're coward. Well, that even relates to what I'm saying. They are afraid of offending any groups, and so they don't fight. Go ahead.
No, the Chamber of Commerce wants cheap labor, but if they stop and think, the sheer volume of people that President Obama, these numbers that are being thrown out there, the sheer number, you'll have your cheap labor, and they'll just keep legalizing them. They're going to be 80% Democrat voters. So if the Chamber of Commerce likes Republicans, they should probably not allow up to and including 30 million new Democratic voters, because the Republicans will never win a national election ever.
But the flip side of it, the flip side of this, though, is another irony in this is that the reason big business wants this is because it can hold down wages, because you have low cost labor. But then you have the unions on the Democrat side who are supportive of this.
Because they think these are future union people. But you're right, at lower wages. And blacks should be furious. Some are getting it, that black unemployment is doubled. They need entry-level jobs to learn work skills. And they're the ones that are hurt by this this immigration and illegal labor stuff. And they're quiet about it too. Some aren't.
Yeah, it's
absolutely. It's completely unsustainable, and why it's just the easiest common sense thing. Like you said, Tom, blacks, people that have gone through the system legally and have done the right thing, they should be outraged, and Latinos and low wage workers that are already here, they should be outraged too, because if they're trying to work their way up the economic ladder, they will never be able to do it, because the sheer number of people that are going to come in, and as soon as they want to make a higher wage, they will be kicked to the curb, because there will be someone else to come in behind them that will do it for cheaper.
Oh, sure. McDonald's, for example, with the higher minimum wages, they're going to machinery and raising menu prices, but going to machinery to displace workers. And people need entry-level jobs. Those are crucial.
Okay, guys.
So, again, wake up, Republicans. If you want to try to win any positions in this state at all, that's your issue, and I'm giving it to you for free.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
And I'm going to use Tom's term. It won't make any difference at all. We're going to get another call in before we have to take a break. Good morning. You're on KROC.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
I just wanted to ask you to comment, if you haven't already, on the changing scenario in Ferguson, Missouri.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Because, that was kind of an absolute godsend to the liberals, because they had Stalin called them as useful idiots, the white protesters and the massive number of black protesters, and then the real useful idiots were the black looters and rioters, and then, of course, honorable mention has to go to the press that kept that in the headlines for 3 months now? But
I will caution you, the grand jury is still in session. We don't have a no bill, and we don't have an indictment. We don't know what's going to happen.
No,
yet.
but leaks to the press have told us that officer was assaulted in his vehicle, and a fight over a gun, the control of the weapon, and the grand jury might not return an indictment. And so the police in the region are saying these thugs might, they didn't use that term, might demonstrate if they don't get their way with this officer, and we've got to be prepared.
And this is where the difficulty comes in, because you have the one side already saying, this would be the young man's family, already saying, these leaks of the autopsy results that suggest that he might have been faced towards the officer and his hands were in such a position and this and that. And I'm going to emphasize leaks, because this is all supposed to be sealed stuff at this point. They're saying, well, even if it says that, we don't believe it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But you just, when we talked about the Ebola stuff, you had the same comment on the other way. Whatever the health officials say, we choose not to believe it.
Am I that cynical? You remember all this stuff.
We're having a big problem in this society. We don't trust anybody anymore.
Well, I think that it's not that the liberals are upset by the leaks or by the selective reporting. It's just they're upset about what was reported. They picked the wrong group of facts or factoids to support their argument. So that's what all the squealing's about. I was just wondering if that was going to have, in your view, if that would have any impact on the voting patterns for the midterms here next week.
Oh, gosh. With 2 weeks left?
That's a thoughtful question. I haven't thought of that. Now, you have. What do you think?
Well, I think it depends if the liberals can tamp this down quickly enough, it won't be reported, and they'll have the goal was heavy black turnout, and they'll get that. And I don't mind anyone voting. It's just that the inspiration for voting may be a little bit misguided.
Or the thing that could happen is the grand jury could still be in session when the election happens, and all this gets pushed back until after the vote.
Oh, that would be the goal, because right now it's a tremendous godsend to the Democrat Party, and having anything disturb that is really, really, really against their. It hurts them.
It's been a bad October already.
Well, yeah, but they don't need any more, because if they can count on the black turnout and have a rubber stamp vote from that group, that at least will preserve the people who are in the gerrymandered districts that support Democrats.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, guys.
Me
all right.
too.
Appreciate the analysis. And it is already 4 minutes away from 11 o'clock. Man, this hour just has flown by, Thomas. 58 in the downtown. Roscoe's.
Victorious.
Tim, whatever. What's your name?
Victorious.
George? Yeah, Victorious. Yeah. Catering.
Restaurante. I love that phrase.
Wine bar. Mm-hmm. And be sure to call up Victorious as you plan your holiday party, your weddings, your birthday parties, office get-togethers. Heck, if you get together in the garage, why not? Done that before, by the way. Had Victorious pasta out in the garage. It was awesome. Victoria's Restaurante and Wine Bar, they can take care of you. They have the pasta bar set up. You get your choices of pasta. You get the bread. You get the salads. You get everything you need to have an awesome event.
Mm-hmm. I was in there the other night with friends and chatting away and at the bar and having a good glass of wine. And a gentleman from Baltimore who studied at the Mayo Clinic, and he had a Ph.D., comes back to Rochester once in a while, grateful for the city. And he's sitting there, and he's having minestrone soup and the rolls and the olive oil. In fact, it was so good, I went to a local grocery store and bought olive oil, the healthy stuff. And so we all got hungry, and we all ordered minestrone, and we all had a glass of wine or two, and it was out of this world. And the people are so friendly, the staff's so friendly, the wine selections are good. And then old Uncle Tom, I love takeout, and just try this. If you like that healthy vegetable minestrone soup, order a quart of it, take it home, have it some more.
Then you're set.
Yeah.
Victorious Restaurante and Wine Bar. Minestrone soup and wine. There you go. That's not a combination I haven't thought of before. But and the catering. Don't forget the catering at Victoria's. They'll take care of you. Victorious Restaurante and Wine Bar. They're on 1st Avenue Southwest in downtown Rochester.